If something in your life feels stuck or even heavier than you think it should be, maybe it's not a lack of effort. Maybe it is the fear of losing everything showing up in your life. So in today's video, I want to share with you how this fear showed up in my own life and what helped me to bring some clarity around this issue. Hello, my love. It's Rachel here. And today I want to talk to you about something that when I found out, it brought so much clarity for an area of my life that was being much more challenging, much heavier than I thought that it should be. And it is specifically a fear that all of us we have as human beings, a fear that is rooted in our bones. But what happens is that when we are not aware of that fear, or when we don't know that that fear is showing up in a specific area of our lives, we may see ourselves in a situation where we say, okay, I'm here doing everything I can, I'm working hard, I want it to happen. Why I'm not being able to make that happen, or why is it being so heavy, so hard, right? So that's why I want to bring some light and bring the insights that I had in this, when this fear showed up in my life. And I'm talking about my business. So when I started my business back in 2013, I started by offering one-on-one sessions, then courses, then everything started growing. And of course, at one specific point, I needed to have a team. I needed to have more people helping me, working with me. And that got so hard, so heavy for me. And I couldn't understand why, because when I used to work in a corporate job, that was fine. Now, that was difficult, and things related to the business was getting so hard. And sometimes I would see myself like not willing to go all in that situation. And that was so weird for me. And I started reflecting on that because, okay, but back then when I used to work in a corporate job, I was the perfect employee. I would work from early in the morning until late in the night, like through the night, weekends, holidays, and I would do everything that I had to do. Why I'm not having that same energy for my own business? Like, what's going on here? And I started questioning myself and trying to understand why some things that I didn't think that should be so heavy were being so heavy for me. And I was not okay with that, because when it comes to my work itself, it is easy, it flows, because it is my life mission. So I didn't want this business area of my work, or of having this business, I don't know, like making all the process something that I would eventually say it's not working, or I don't want to do that. I didn't want it because my mission is huge. I want to keep doing it. Then I started remembering back then when I used to work my corporate job, I used to have one belief that I would repeat, and it was a belief that was so real for me. It was the truth, the truth. And I used to say, I will never have a business, ever. I am all in, I give my best, I am everything that you can see here. I would tell myself, I would be, when I would think about this kind of thing. But I don't want to have my own business, because when I work in a company, if something happens, if that company, goes bankrupted, or if they just go out of business, they decide to close, it's okay. I just leave and I'll find another job. But if that's my own company, things would be very different. So all the weight of having people working for you, or, everything that's involved in seeing your own business like, let's say, disappearing. And that's something that I would repeat all the time. And then questioning myself years ago, like, what is behind this belief? I understood that what was behind that belief is the fear that, as I told you, all of us, we have this fear. The fear of seeing everything that we worked so hard for evaporating in the air. And that is connected to the tower. And when I was going through this belief system, working on this belief, because it's not something like, oh, I found out years ago and it was sorted out. No, it is something that I work on over and over again. I like to check it out. So specifically because, yes, the business is still the most challenging area of my life, right? So it's something that I am constantly aware of. And then I decided to pull from the Tarot of Mystical Moments, the Tower. Because the fear of losing is connected to the fear of the Tower moment that may happen in our lives. So maybe it shows up in your life when it comes to a romantic relationship. So you think, I'm doing my best. You know, like, why? What's going on here? And maybe you can investigate and find out that there's a fear of losing that prevents you from starting that relationship. Maybe the fear that one day you are going to lose all the money prevents you from making more money now. Maybe the fear of seeing your business getting out of control or even going to an end, maybe that is preventing you from building that business the way that makes sense for you. And when you look at this image here, we are seeing this building. I started reflecting and I decided to bring this conversation because of this card and the other card that I'm going to show now. So it is a building. It's like the business burning, right? Being destroyed. And then asking myself back then, like, okay, what would be the solution? And the solution is the next card, the Star. And then looking at these cards, the Tarot of Mystical Moments, I started reflecting on this subject and I started thinking, okay, here in the Tower we have business, exactly the way we see in the material world. And it's the same for any other area that you may face, that fear. So what is the solution? Because it's here. It's built on a mountain, it's very earth-based. It's something that is real in the material world. And it's getting destroyed. And here, in this specific card, it's different than Rider-Waite-Smith on the other cards, but that's why I wanted to bring this, to bring this reflection here today with these cards. Here we see the building. It's some kind of a plant here, a flower. So we see a building here, whatever it is that we want to manifest, built here on earth, in a mountain, something very grounded, very solid. And here it's built, and it's been destroyed. Here it's beautiful, it's all there, but it's floating. There's no earth here, there's no mountain here to sustain that building. And look how this one even looks like an old style. Nothing against that, I think it's beautiful, but an old style, and here it's almost like a palace. And I started reflecting. So when you think about the Kabbalistic point of view, what we can think is that here is what happens when you wanna, well, the Kabbalistic point of view, we are going to talk about the reality of the 99% and the reality of the 1%. So the 1% is this reality of the five senses, is the material world. And the reality of the 99%, the reality of our consciousness and spirituality, right? So when we think about the 1%, and the material world is just 1% of reality, it is very real, but it's 1%. When you build it only here, we may face destruction. And this is not the destruction that it is like the end of a business, of a relationship. but the spiritual destruction that we feel, the emotional destruction that we feel happening there, it is what prevents us from understanding that some things eventually, maybe they will end the way they will end in a specific shape and form, so that something new can born. But so when we are building only the 1%, we will always be afraid of this destruction. But when you build in the 99%, you see, it's floating. It's in the spiritual realm. This is just a consequence. So even if this is being destroyed, like this material structure of the business, the relationship, your financial security, whatever, is being destroyed, there's something real in the 99% that stays, that remains. And this one can be rebuilt, maybe in a different shape, in a different area, of your life, because light is light. So the same light that we are putting here in this given subject that maybe we are afraid that is going to end one day, it's the same light that is going to spiritual bank that is intact. So it doesn't matter if this material structure, if your marriage is over, if your course was not a success, it doesn't matter, because the spiritual structure is still there. Build again, manifest again, create again. And it gives us some kind of inner peace to give ourselves permission to go all in. Because when we are afraid of losing something, we'll never go all in, even though it looks like we are. And we may even feel more drained. But we are not going all in, because the fear is always there. If I go all in and things don't work the way that I wanted them to work, what is that going to say about me? I went all in, I was my best in that relationship, and still it didn't work. What is that saying about me? I gave all my best to my work, and still it was a failure. What does that say about me? So seeing whatever we build in the material world as a reflection of what is built in the spiritual world is going to change the way we look at failure, at endings, at losing things. We are going to reframe all that. And here, I'm not talking only about reframing the experience once it happened, but how powerful it is to reframe it when we are there in the challenge, when we are living that at that moment. This is the reflection that I wanted to bring with you today, my love. If you like it, please make sure to check these other videos here, and I'll see you in the next video. Lots of love.